Welcome to V Book Club and V Speaks podcast at Redfish Film Festival. We're so excited to be here, and I'm here with one of this weekend's featured filmmakers, director Brett Whitcomb, who's showing two different films this weekend. So we've seen The Spirit of Halloweentown and The Jasper Mall. Hi, Brett,
Hello.
welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about how you became a documentarian. Is that something you always wanted to do, or did it just sort of happen naturally?
That was a long time ago. Really, me and Bradford were friends. We met as DJs,
Okay.
and I DJed in Houston for a long time, and so did he. And he got me my first DJ job, and we just became friends. I started getting into watching movies more like serious. So I
Hmm.
started, this is when Netflix was, you could rent like five at a time
Right.
and they would send them
Yeah.
to your house. I would burn five, send
Yeah.
them back.
They came in the
Yeah.
mail.
And then get five, and just
Hmm.
be, and I'd have this massive, booklet of, you know, movies. And they had an amazing selection back then.
Hmm.
You could literally type in like Bresson and they would have his catalog
Right.
from first film to the last, and it was amazing. And I was like, wow. So I would rent every one of those films and watch them in order.
Hmm.
Sometimes Brad and I would literally watch them together on the phone, like three, two, one, start it, and then we talk
Okay.
about them. And Kurosawa,
Yep.
Fellini, just started watching Bergman, everything, and fell in love with film and thought I want to make, like I was getting completely moved by the stuff that I was seeing. I was like getting floored. It was changing my life. I was just like, I didn't know that this world existed because I didn't watch movies seriously until then. And um then I was like, I worked an extra job, bought all this equipment to start making movies, and it didn't look like what I was watching. Well,
Hmm.
the footage that I was getting didn't look like a Bergman film or
Right.
whatever, because at that time it was like mini DV and DSLRs
Uh-huh.
were not a thing yet.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't like the way it looked, and I didn't want to do it in. I was like, this doesn't look right.
Hmm.
And then got into, I don't know how, but I started. I don't remember what the first film I watched, but I saw like Gates of Heaven,
Okay.
Vernon,
Yes.
Florida,
Uh-huh.
and then I started, got into like Werner Herzog, and I was like, oh,
That's what I'm
stuff,
doing.
stuff can look. And then even things that, like Hands on a Hard Body or Best Boy, or, there's just, there's a movie about frogs that I forgot
Hmm.
about. Yeah, what is that one?
Right.
There's I don't know.
Things that are a little more like raw and a
Obscure.
little obscure and a little,
Yeah.
I don't want to say weird, but like
Eh,
sometimes
eh,
a little weird, right?
Yeah, and you can grab a camera, and as long as there's heart and
Uh-huh.
you find things that you're passionate about, and you can just get in there and start doing it. Like I'd get back and be like, I love this. Like
Hmm.
this looks like this other stuff. It's not Bergman,
Right.
but it's Herzog,
Uh-huh.
like it looks okay.
Yeah.
I
Or
don't
it's you.
Yeah, it can be out of focus or it can be overexposed. Like I didn't go to film school, so I just decided to fail a bunch or just go
Hmm.
head in and start making stuff, submitting it to film festivals. Brad was interested in being a writer at the time, so I was like, "Hey, writer, editor, same thing." Like for
Hmm.
a documentary, it's a lot. Editor
Right.
is like like so important. So Brad was working at a college at the time. I was going to the college that he worked at, is UHD, University of Houston, and yeah, we just literally rented a van and made
Yeah.
our first movie.
What was the first one?
Well, technically, the first one I made about people without homes that
Hmm.
lived in downtown Houston, because I was a DJ, and when I left the club, people were just like stepping over human beings, and they were
Hmm.
just on,
Right.
and so I was like personally curious what happened, like
Hmm.
why is this happening? And I just went out there after I got off work DJing at like 2 a.m., I would get my camera and me and the bouncer would go walk around Houston and interview people.
Yeah.
And I just interviewed like 50 people and just strung it together. And that was kind of our first thing. Brad wrote me like paper notes because he wasn't editing at the time.
Right.
And I still have that. It's like, it's on like yellow, whatever, legal paper. And it's
Okay.
like, you know, but
Frame it.
yeah.
Frame it.
um,
So going into that, you know, and you've made many films, but yesterday we got to see The Spirit of Halloweentown here at Redfish Film Festival, and that was such a fun documentary about this town in Portland, in Oregon, St. Helens, and every year they do huge Halloween celebrations. So they've been doing it for 15-ish years now, I would say. How did you get involved with that? Like, how did you decide I want to make a movie about this?
we were kind of looking for ideas, and we always just have our radar out there just open. And I think Brad had sent me a couple of things, and you know, I think it was an article, and it was like how a town transforms itself into Halloween, how its like entire identity has been shaped by this movie that filmed there so long ago. And we were like, well, that's a entry point for us to be able to go to a town and do what we like to do, which is just talk to the people there and find these like human stories.
Yeah. It's like as a Disney fan and like a millennial, I'm like, oh, Halloweentown, yes, I love it. It's something that I watched growing up. But this documentary is not really about that. And so tell me, you decided, yes, we're going to make a documentary about this town, and this is what they love, and this is something that they do every year, but it's really a lot more than that. Like you said, it's the people. How did you get connected with all these different sort of characters, I would say, in the movie?
Yeah. Right away, we knew we didn't want to make a talking head documentary where we interviewed like people from the cast. That could be a great movie, but we wanted to float around like a ghost in the town and like find stories. And we knew, so we just made sure that like, so Halloweentown's the entry point. We explain that this is what happens every year, and then we find people connected that are connected to making this happen. And we, you know, so we were like, who you know, talk to the mayor,
Right.
and then you just, if you hang around long enough, you're like, oh, you need to talk to the queen of Halloweentown. And we're like, who's that? And we start getting phone numbers and start texting people, and based on their response and how interested they're in talking to us and come over to our house, we're like, oh, we're, you know, we could, this could be a potential person in the film. And so we start just making a list of people that could be threads that just we're interweaving this tapestry of like story, trying to make this like portrait, but we're still have this like spine of everyone trying to build towards Halloween and the big event.
Yeah, and it's kind of you hit different weeks in the documentary leading up to this big event where the town is just flooded with Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how did you get, I know that there's a lot of interviews, obviously, but even some super vulnerable moments with the different people that you talk to that aren't even necessarily related to Halloween or what's coming up. Like they're just telling you about things going on in their lives. How do you pull those moments out of people? Like, or does it just sort of happen?
We try to explain to them and show them our other films a little bit, like without getting too technical with them, that we're really just want to like talk to them about everything in their life. And I think a lot of people, if you think about it, like no one's, unless you're talking to your mom or something, no one's asking you, how are you? You know, like, so when you sit down to like an intimate moment and someone asks about your dad that you haven't thought of, it can take you places that you might be surprised.
Right.
And then we don't have an agenda. We're not trying to, I mean, we have questions, but we let it go where, you know, where it goes, as long as they're comfortable. And I don't know. We've been really fortunate to have people really open up to us and be really authentic when we've been talking to
Mhm.
them. So
I think that was something that really hit me the most when I was watching it. I was like, oh wow, how did they get, how did they get from talking about a cheerleading routine that's about zombies to talking about someone's dad that they haven't spoken to in a while? And it was like, okay. But then you realize that you know these people in your life, and it's like any town in America, you're gonna find kind of all these people. So you're really making a movie about could be anywhere, but it happens to be like Halloween Town.
yeah, and you get lucky too, like
Mm-hmm.
in the way that that thread of Sadra's dad, like she then invited him,
Mm-hmm.
and we found that out on camera,
Right.
and so it's like, oh, that's not only does she have a performance now that her talking about her dad in the interview isn't so random
Mm-hmm.
because now we're hoping that he shows up.
Yeah.
And so, and then, literally we're driving to the event of her performance and she like texts me, hey, he's not
Mm-hmm.
coming.
Oh, yeah.
So then we have to think, how do we show this in a way that, we already
Mm-hmm.
know it now.
Right.
That's not gonna, we'd have to have a camera on, like a hidden, I don't know, like a
Uh-huh.
camera on her every moment. And we weren't, it's not like we were gonna be there with her and waking up and,
Mm-hmm.
getting ready. It was a little much. So we, find ways that feel right and natural and honest to reveal that, but then it's still triumphant because she has the people that
Mm-hmm.
around her that she loves.
Right. Do you have advice for other filmmakers, especially young ones coming up, about how to do that? How to connect with people in a way that's authentic, but will also, get them to open up and get them to help you tell the story.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of, I've watched people interview people and they're like reading their neck. They're not even looking at the person and they're
Mm-hmm.
like reading their next question. They're so obsessed with like, it's like they're not in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
They're like not in the same space with them. They're like, okay, I got to get, so where are you from? They say it, okay, oh, next, next, next,
Mm-hmm.
next. I don't know. It's like look them and like really have a conversation with people and like try to not worry about all these things that you think you need to connect in an interview because your viewers are smart
Right.
and they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's better just to talk to somebody, look them in the eye, put your paper down.
Mm-hmm.
And Brad's really great at that.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little more about Brad since he's not here.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, he's
the
a
history there
yeah,
and
no, he's an incredibly thoughtful interviewer. He he obsessively like understands the story. Because he edits the movies and we co-direct, I shoot the movies.
mm-hmm.
He is like thinking miles ahead in terms of story. So he's got all this stuff in his head, but when you're talking to him, it doesn't come out like that. It's like really natural. And
Uh-huh.
but then at the end he might pause and be like, we talked about, he'll just be
Mm-hmm.
like thinking, yeah, in his head he's already editing the movie, and he's
Right.
like, I think we have what
Yeah.
we need.
So important to have a good team.
So yeah,
And you have Rebecca, who's been here with you, who's one of your producers,
right.
correct? So tell us a little bit about how you pulled together the team for not only this documentary, but Jasper Mall or any other projects that you've been working on.
It's just small, like it's
Mm-hmm.
just like I said, I shoot, Brad does sound. It's like, you know, Rebecca, if I'm like, do you want to come do this? And she's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, Rebecca's a producer and she, again, just incredibly thoughtful and like people trust her immediately. And it's like having that support on the ground with people that understand the style, what we're trying to do. Like we're not having boom mics hanging over people's heads. We're not, I don't know, the agenda's not there. So it's just like we're really hanging out with people and
Mm-hmm.
having that extra brain that understands the same kind of movies. Like everyone likes the same movies.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to make that, and it's like the people are first.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, like everyone knows that on the team. So, no one's in a hurry, for Jasper Mall, we're just hanging out in the food court
Mm-hmm.
and we see somebody, we're like, go up to them and talk to them.
Yeah.
Rebecca
So it's
helped.
very
Yeah.
organic, very much
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty loose. And
Mhm.
then, you know, Brad, again, because he's thinking about story, he might tell me something like, we need this today, or, if we could get this somehow, that would be amazing. And then,
Mhm.
so that'll kind of be in the back of my head. And then, we do or we don't.
Right.
Um, but you asked about advice.
Sure. Yeah. Any advice that you would want to give to just up and coming filmmakers or those that might want to get into this style of filmmaking? Which I
Uh,
think you kind of did give a lot of
yeah, I
advice.
mean, that's,
So
yeah.
don't stress over it. But
And finish it. And
mhm,
like, if you have an idea that's like, you're even start with your family. Your
mhm,
grandma collects turtle shell. I don't know. It's
right.
like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, your grandma does something interesting. Go to her house and interview her in the way that you want to, whether it's like a verite situation or you want to sit them down and interview them,
Mhm,
and put it together. Think about it. Put it together. Edit it yourself so
mhm.
you know what you messed up on.
Yeah.
Finish it, do the sound and color yourself, and then decide whether you want to submit it somewhere,
Uh-huh.
and then move on
Mhm.
and do the next one and
Yeah.
the next one and the next one.
Just
And
keep
you
going.
will get better even if you don't realize it. Because that's all I did. I just kept failing and also winning and failing.
Mhm.
It was like, back and forth. And then still some do well, and then some
Right.
don't get into festivals. So it's like, but I'm not doing it I'm doing it because I love it.
Mhm. Well, tell us a little bit about this festival and how you got involved with Redfish.
Yeah, I had heard about it. I know it's the second year,
Mhm.
but Lex and Kevin
Uh-huh.
wrote me this really thoughtful email, and they were fans of the previous work, and it was like, oh, it's not just a non-solicit. It was like, it wasn't just
Right.
like a cold stock email.
Right.
It was like, oh, they liked
Mhm.
this kind of movie.
Mhm.
And when people respond to that, it's like, oh, I bet you that their crowd's gonna like it too.
Yeah.
So when they reached out, and they were like, gave us a hotel. It's
Uh-huh.
like, it was, and we love this town. And so we were like, yeah, let's this
Mhm.
after talking to them, it was like, yeah, no brainer.
Yeah. I love the programming for this weekend because it's so diverse. Like there's not just one type of documentary. There's tons of different things being shown. So that's been really fun to see just as a sort of an outsider. But yeah, we're so excited that you were able to stop by and chat today, and thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Hope you
it.
have a good rest of your weekend.
You too.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone.